Morning, everyone. How's everyone doing today? It's good to see everyone. Welcome to my Sunday live stream where we talk about photography and I also do open Q&A. So if you have any questions about photography or the OM system, Olympus cameras, I'll be happy to try and answer those for you. Um, Also, I always like to just catch up and tell you what's been going on, what's new, and I had a really busy week this week. For me, that is, it's like, uh, but I had one photo job, two video jobs, and I got a new client also, which should be pretty exciting. We'll see if it pans out. There's always people that you talk to that might be interested in your work and want to hire you, but we'll see. I haven't been hired yet, but they're definitely interested. And what else? I did some training this week. I had a class. Oh, the class I did this week, I did not do well. I mean, I guess it was okay. I don't know if David is here. He could tell me. He was in the class. David, tell it. Um, I was not happy with my performance on that class. Partially because I didn't prep enough because I taught the class before, and it's a topic I'm very familiar with. But uh, just somehow when your mojo's off, it's off, right? And I can always gauge when a class goes well because I get a lot of questions, right? I get people thinking and asking questions, but when you teach a class and there's not any questions, that's it's not a good sign in my opinion. You try to play it off and say, well, if there's no questions, I did my job, right? But that's not really true. If you really are a good teacher, I think you'll get a lot of questions in class because you're building curiosity, you're getting people to think more about what you're trying to teach, and if they understand the basic things that you taught, then it should drive more questions. Well, if you do this, what about this? If you do that, it doesn't affect this, those kind of things, right? So I was a little disappointed in myself in that class. It was class on shutter speed. But anyhow, and it was a virtual class, so it's not quite the same as teaching in person, which I normally like to do better. But I'm still working on finding a space. I might just have to go to a public library, something. Because I don't charge anything for the classes. I just like this. Like I said, it's just another outlet for me to share my passion for photography and to help others who are interested to get started, and maybe they'll find, that photography is it's a wonderful outlet for your creativity, and it's an activity you can do and get a little bit of exercise in most cases, I should say. And it just makes life more interesting in general. I think when you develop another skill set, there's so many skill sets that I'd love to learn. It's just, you're not, I don't know. I remember when I was younger, man, I could just sit down and over a weekend get fairly competent at knowing how to learn how to do something, right? I'm not saying I can learn everything there is. Obviously, can't learn in a weekend everything you need to know, but at least you can get a feel for if this is something you want to do and can accomplish and do decent at. Uh, and there's some things I'll never get good at. Like I'll never be good at playing any kind of sport, right? That has a ball involved. It's just not happening, right? Uh, Basketball, baseball, football, forget it. Nothing. I'm just gonna always suck my whole life. Uh, but guitar I picked up and I got pretty decent. If I had kept up with it, I'd be jamming right now. But I need to get back into that. But photography is something that I have stayed with since I really got back into it and got fairly competent at it. And of course, it's a lifelong skill. You're always learning, you're always growing. as with any skill. Uh, but photography is basically a skill, right? You can learn photography, and because it's something I enjoy. I enjoy sharing it with others. Uh, and I just feel like I failed this week in that class. So I need to think about what I did that it was just so bad. It's mostly I didn't prep properly, maybe. I don't know. Usually when I get into a topic, like I would say 90 to 90, I would say 90% of the videos that I've produced on my channel were all basically I just was thinking about something. I said this would be a good topic, turn on the camera and just start recording. There's very little planning and prep and all of that. Uh, some videos take more prep, obviously. But a lot of the videos up until this year and last year, most of those videos were just make sure I had a full charge in the battery, going out and doing something. Oh, but it's a little harder to do that with the classes that I teach and things. I have to prep, and I'm just wondering if that's maybe I have to prep a lot more. But anyhow, let me see who's here. Oh, I see Music Sound Gear. Marsha, good to see you. Lasse, Christine, Plato, and Robert's here. Um, let's see. Jeff Painter, good to see you. I know we did some email stuff this week. I can't remember what it was, but I'm glad I was able to help you with that. Marsha, oh, I see. Marsha has a question. Maybe it's been answered already. All right, old man. I gotta get my glasses on. Says a wonderful Trekkies. I have a major problem. Just got the OM1. Went out to shoot. I see images in camera uploaded to computer. Images are black. Ooh. Wow. Why would that be? Uh, all I can say is maybe try a different memory card. It sounds like the memory card may have been corrupted somehow. So when I run into a problem, I try and minimize, or I try to narrow down what it is exactly. So you have to be very methodical to figure out what it is. I mean, the first thing comes to mind to me is the memory card. So take that memory card that has the black images on it and put into a different card slot, because you have two card slots. Take a few pictures and see if it still happens. Push the play button on your camera. If you push play and can see the images in camera, you should be okay. But then when you take the memory card out and put it into your computer and you try and load them into the computer, uh, depending on the software, if you're loading them in through OM Workspace and the images are black, there may be a problem with the OM Workspace, right? So go into your file manager, whether it's Apple or I don't know what they call it in Apple, and see if you can browse the JPEGs and see the images in the browser, like the file manager, and use Lightroom. I guess I don't know. I'll have to skim down and see, but you need to try and figure out where in the chain of events that you're getting a black image. Is it happening in camera? Because if you push play on the camera with the memory card in it and you see the image, it should work when it's in your computer. So, and then the other option would be, try seeing if that same memory card shows images in a different computer. If you have two, see if they show just through the file explorer. And the only thing you'll see on your computer normally is the JPEG image, or the embedded JPEG of the RAW. But wow, that's I've never had that happen to me before, to get a black image that I can recall. But something is somewhere in that chain of events, right? From capturing the image to showing it on your computer, there's something's broken. And my guess would be it's not the camera if it plays it. Now, if you take a picture in the camera and then you push play and it's completely black on the display, that's another issue. Oh, but that's the best I can do through a live stream to help you diagnose it. Try and figure out the chain of events from the camera, the image capture to your computer. So you're shooting raw. Oh, yeah, you can, okay, so there's questions here about that is something that can happen, is when the software that you're using, if you can load the images in the OM workspace, Marcia, and they show an OM workspace, because OM workspace has its own codecs built in to decode the raw images, then there's no problem with the camera. There's no problem with OM workspace or the memory card. The problem would be the codecs in whatever software you're using. So Lightroom has it all built in now. But if you go to your file manager, and you cannot browse raw images in your file manager normally unless you load codecs in for your operating system. So basically what a codec is stands for I can't remember, code and decode or something. Compress, decompress. But anyway, basically a codec translates the file format so that your computer can read it, right? Because you get a file that has all this raw data in it, including an embedded JPEG. That's what raw images are. Your computer needs to be able to understand what it's looking at, and it uses a codec to do that. So it looks at the file and says, okay, this is a raw file from Olympus. Do I have a way to show that file? And that's what codecs do. So things like Lightroom and Olympus Workspace and now Photolab 5 all have codecs built into their software to read those files, right? But if your operating system can't read it, or some other software, photo editing software you're using, can't read it, that's when you need a codec. The codec doesn't guarantee that your software will be able to read it, because codecs are generally for the operating system. And then if the software can use that codec through the operating system, then the software will be able to read the file. But most software have their own codecs built in to open raw images and demosaic and decode and all of that. So that seems like the most likely answer, is you need to use a software like OM Workspace. Now, if OM Workspace opens up and the images are still black, then you have to go backwards, right, in the chain of events. Oh, Marco's here. Good to see you. Thanks for your email. I appreciate that. That was very interesting information. Marco also offered to, give me a 4K monitor, which I appreciate. But I'm looking at very high end monitors because I keep them for a long time. This monitor I'm using now, I've had since 2013, and still it's running. I'm still getting about 98% sRGB, but it's, it dies after that, right? It doesn't handle Adobe. It doesn't do DCI-P3, all of the video type things that I think within the next 10 years I'll be using, right? So I'm going to get a monitor that's a little bit future proof primarily for my video work, right? For my photo work, sRGB is fine. But for video work, I think there's definitely going to be a transition to HDR content, and I want to be ready for that with my next monitor, basically. So I'm looking at monitors that have a very high DCI-P3 color gamut, 95% or better. And we found one that does well. I'm waiting for, I found a 32-inch version of it. It's a Dell Ultra Sharp 3223 QE, which is, it's an IPS display, but it has a new black level IPS, so that the contrast is closer to 2000 to 1. So it's nearly double the contrast ratio over current IPS monitors. And it has like a 98% DCI-P3 gamut, right? And also the 100 and some over 100% sRGB, nearly 100% on the Adobe side, and it's also, I think it was like 80% on the Rec 2020, which to get Rec 2020 kind of color gamut, you have to spend, thousands of dollars on a monitor to get something that'll do that. That's way beyond, I think, what I'll ever need, at least with the clients that I get. But a lot of people, they're buying these 4K TVs with very HDR capability now. And as video becomes more and more part of my job, I think it's important to be able to edit in the color space and see it as people will be watching it, right? So that's what I'm looking at. And the monitor I'm looking at now, it's about $900, which is, it's pretty expensive, but it's something, like I said, that I use for a long time. And unless there's some dramatic change in monitor technology, I don't see really any problem with it. And if I keep it for, let's say, 8 years, is really about the life of, that's, even from 2013, this monitor that I have now is still excellent. It's just not as bright as it used to be. I don't know why. I can only get about 150 nits out of it, which is enough for photo editing and stuff. But for HDR content, you need to be at about, 4 times that in terms of brightness. And that's my challenge with, particularly for video work. So anyway, those are kind of what I was looking at. I wanted to elaborate a little bit in the email with Marco about that, but I just kept it simple because he knows, right? He knows what I'm saying. When I'm looking for a good photo video editing monitor, he'll know that, I need 400 to 600 nits, maybe an HDR 600 monitor, which means it has to have good contrast. I need, nearly 100% DCI-P3 and all of that stuff. So I'm just torn because I like the wide format monitors, because that's what I'm using now. It's a wide monitor, but it's old. It's a 2560 by 1080. So it's like 1.5 times, not even 1.5 times, 1.25 times wider than a standard monitor. But it makes a difference. And I found some monitors that are like 3840 by 1600. It's a 38-inch wide Right now I'm using a 29-inch wide, and that would be awesome, because then I could have all my panels up and everything. Because video, when you're editing video, man, it's like you got to look at 20 different panels. It feels like, with photo editing, you got one panel, right? And all your settings on one side, maybe a few more on the left, but for the most part, you can slide up and down one side of the screen to get to everything you need to edit a photo. But for video work, oh my God, it's like so many other layers of panels that you have to get to. The color management, and then there's now, because of HDR, there's different. It's so complicated, and I'm struggling a bit with this last photo job I did, or not photo, but the last video job I did. I'm struggling a little bit with the colors. I use the OM1. I use the OM1 for these last two video jobs because it's 420 10-bit. And what I did not expect, while I'm getting the good 10-bit, I'm getting very good 10-bit dynamic range. I'm very happy with the dynamic range and pulling shadows, pulling highlights when I need to, because I was using the S5 before. I'm pretty happy with that. But what I'm struggling with is the color, because when I was using the S5, I was getting 422 color, right? 422 10-bit color at a double the bit rate. Not that that's is critical for what I do. You need high bit rates for faster moving type things like people and things, but I'm just doing, right, interiors, panning very slowly. So the bit rate's not quite as critical. The more the better, but it's more than enough in the OM1. But the OM1 is a 420 unless I hook up an external, Ninja or something and do raw externally. That is but I am noticing a difference between 422 and 420. I've noticed it before. Like the EM10 Mark II, right? It's 420 8-bit internal, 422 8-bit external. And when I recorded externally video, it was really good. Much better. There was a noticeable difference between 420 and 422. I mean, even the dynamic range seemed to be better, even though that's really just because you're capturing more colors more than you are expanding the dynamic range. But this is where I'm struggling just a bit. Is with the color, because I got this. The OM1 seems to have this, well, not really. I saw it in the S5 too. When you get into low light shadow areas, I'm getting this magenta cast. But the S5 did that too, actually. So that doesn't count. But it's still there in the OM1. Whether it's the S5, the OM, probably any camera for that matter, I'm getting some magenta cast in the shadows, which is not a big deal. But the overall color is harder to tweak, because in when I'm doing real estate or commercial video work, I don't have control over the lighting. I'm getting very strong, blue light, daylight coming in through the windows, and then I'm getting mixed lighting inside, whether it's LED or fluorescent. It's more so now LED. The light, the quality of the light inside is very poor, right? People are not buying high quality lighting for their store, right? They're just buying lights, right? Not videography lights or photo lights. They're buying just lights to illuminate the space. And this poor quality lighting is what's causing me to have problems with the color. So being able to work in a 422 color space versus 420 just gives me I think it's about a 50% difference in color quality. Don't quote me on that. but I was able to tweak the tint and everything in the highlights because you can tweak things really to a very fine level in video work. And I'm just getting this weird color on this last photo job because they were using very poor quality LED lighting. I mean, the store is beautiful. It was a storefront. The store is beautiful, but the lighting they're using is not conducive to video work. So I think I've redone this video. I mean, it should have been like a 2-hour photo editing or video editing job, right? I should be able to edit that in 2 hours or less. But it's taken me all freaking weekend. Like I spent all day Friday, all day yesterday editing it, mainly because of the color. It just never looked right to me. And I'll try and show you a sample here in a minute if anyone's interested. I don't know if anybody cares about video, but it's definitely a problem because my photos, the color is perfect because in photography, you can use a flash, which has a very, very high CRI index, meaning it's very high quality light. And when I use the flash, it eliminates all of that weird color cast you get from LED lighting and, that weird poor color quality that you get from poor quality lighting when you use a flash. And the photos came out great. So I'm trying to match the my photos, the colors that you see in my photos for the same store with the colors that you see in the video and vice versa. And I'm struggling a bit. So and these are the kind of things only somebody that is a videographer would notice, right? Is like, oh, your color's a little off here. You should have done this, or you know what I mean? These are things just like as photographers, when we look at images, when once you're fairly competent at lighting and color and exposure, you can look at someone else's image and critique it a little, right? You can say, oh, you can do this. And then the other person that took the picture will be like, yeah, that makes sense. I should have done this. And this is how we learn as a community, right? We help each other out. Where was I going with this? I don't even know where I was going with this conversation. But anyhow, that's what I've been doing. Let me see. John, you'd say, good to see you. Wow, 10. Okay, I'm way behind here. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, John. I hope you're feeling okay. Yeah, this COVID thing is still a problem. I mean, fortunately for most of us, it's okay. It's just a cold, but there are some people that get long-term COVID where they have problems for a long time, regardless of your age. But it's more life-threatening to people that are older. The way I understand it, okay, I'm not the CDC or anything, so don't quote me. But the way I understand is when you're older, it's more of a problem. But it can be a problem for younger people, and it's still rampant out there. I mean, I don't know what the solution is other than, wash your hands, the normal things you would do to prevent any kind of cold, right? Rod, good to see you. And let's see. Marcia is responding. She's tried different cards. Okay, so it's yeah, it's probably not the card. I think it's along the codec reason. Yeah. See, Marco's nailed it. He knows. So you need to use the latest version of OM Workspace, and then that should read it. If that doesn't read it, then there's a different problem. Compile, decompile. I think that's it. Codec. Yeah, that's right. Compile, decompile. Thank you. I haven't had to explain, or I haven't been like in the tech field in a long time. Wally, I'm doing well, thank you. I'm in good health, far as I know. Um, I hope you're doing well. Wally comments a lot on my videos, and I appreciate that. Um, whether it's positive feedback or if it's just a question, I always look forward to reading the comments on my videos. Whether it's to answer a question or if I get good feedback, I appreciate it either way. Because, like I said, it's when you when you get a lot of questions, I think that's a good thing as an educator. When you don't get any questions as an educator, you're doing a bad job, in my opinion. Uh, yes, I did download the LUTs, and that that made it worse. um, so um, the thing is, I'm curious if I had used my S5 on that job instead of the OM1, if I would have got the same results. But there's no way for me to know now because when I tested the S5 and the OM1 here at my house, trying to duplicate the kind of problems that I have on the job, and the OM1 was doing a great job. I wasn't having this color problem at my house. But that's just practicing at home and then going out in the real world is different, right? Because the lighting I use in my house is warm, where I was testing, versus they were using very cool lights in their store. Um, but I wasn't having any problems. I was very, very content with the dynamic range and the color I was getting when I was testing at home. Damn. Ooh, good macro opportunity here. It's a fly. Damn. Well, anyway, I hate macros of flies, though. I hate flies. But anyway, yeah, I tried the LUT, and the LUT just amplified all the bad colors. So I took the LUT off and just graded it myself. So during this grading process and color process, wow, I got much better, much more consistent results. Because when I used the LUT, the colors looked very pastelly, meaning very muted in a way, but saturated. It's kind of hard to explain when I applied the LUT. I don't know if I have any samples, and I uploaded them to YouTube for just to see how they look on YouTube, and it didn't make any difference, which is good. I don't want it to look worse on YouTube than it does on my screen, because YouTube compresses it even more, and that's going to be the final destination. The final deliverable is going to be just a 2K, a 1080p file for YouTube, but showing a video through a stream is even worse than watching it on YouTube. But let me see if I have it. How do I get over to the monitor? So this is the video. It's a little choppy because I have my computer power turned way down for streaming. But you see all these colors? This looks, let me move this over. This right here is a good example. Oops, let me back up a little bit. Right here. This is, so what's happening here is I have very strong sunlight coming in through the front windows. And then I have this LED lighting up the rest of the space, right? And my problem is the yellows here, which is being hit mostly by these ceiling lights. And then these lights here are a warm color. These are like a warm, I don't know, 8,000, 3,000 K, whatever, Kelvin. And these are kind of white light type LEDs. These look like fluorescents. I'm not sure, but they're warm. And then I have sunlight coming in the front. And then, of course, I got these walls are painted yellow. This floor is this wood color, and it's shiny. So I have color cast coming in from everywhere, right? So I have poor quality lighting. I got color cast, and I got very strong sunlight coming in through the front windows, which I can't close, because they're just big glass pane windows. But this is where I believe I used a LUT here on this one. And then this one, this one here, this is the same. Let's go to that same spot. This is where I manually color graded it. Let me see. Did I changed the video? Oh, right here. This is where I'm trying to manually color grade it. I don't know if you can see a difference. There's very, very little difference. This, I need to turn the exposure down a bit. But it's primarily in the floors. The floors now, this is the most obvious place because it's not overexposed. I need to adjust that. But this is where you can see the difference. Look at the floors here. And then let me open up. Where is it? 10. Oh, here. Open with. Let me open this up with a different player so I can show you side by side. Right about. Okay, pause. All right. And I need to move over. All right. Now that I have them side by side, you can see the color difference at least, right? The floor is not so much because this is a little underexposed compared to. I need to adjust. This is driving me nuts. But see, now these walls look yellow, right? Which is what they were. Over here, they're kind of blue. Because the lighting coming in from the windows was just too strong. And even if I bring the exposure down a bit, it has this weird cast of color when I use the LUT. So this here on the left is the LUT. This over here is me manually color grading it. And to my eye, the one on the right is definitely more accurate to what the space looked like. But the problem I'm having is the socks here. It's a little better over here. But if you look at the colors over here, there's just this very strong teal. Teal it's like blue, right? But it's a teal color coming in, meaning it's more pastel-y. And this is where I'm having a problem. So again, I think if I delivered either one, the client may or may not notice, right? They'll think it's fine because they're looking at more of the motion, the spacing, you know, the timing, the music, everything. They're looking at the overall content of the video, not so much, you know, is the color 100% accurate. But if we go to one of the photos, see, this is the actual color, right? This is a photo here on the right. But now I have the yellow walls and the white trim, and the wood floor looks perfect. It's a nice orange, you know, walnut, whatever color that is. And look at the socks on the wall here compared to the socks over here. This is the problem I'm having. So I'm trying to get as close as I can to the photo because I know in the photo the colors are accurate. Let's see if there's another photo here. This is the basement. This is 100% artificial lighting. So I did struggle a bit with this, but it's good enough. Let me back up. That's the exterior. Yeah, this is where I color graded it manually. These colors look right to me. Let me see how they look in this one. They're pretty close here, but that's because the lighting was consistent. I didn't have like daylight coming in. I didn't have warm lights in one side and cool lights on the other. This was a little bit easier to color grade because of the lighting was very consistent. But anyhow, just to give you some perspective on what I was dealing with versus, you know, these. Yeah, this color, where is it? This color right here. This is still a problem for me. See the difference between the socks here and the socks here? I got to work on this. But once I nail it, okay, once I nail it, because you have to learn how to color grade every camera individually. Like the EM1 Mark III that I used for a couple of years before I switched to the S5, I was okay, right? I got, you know, I used the LUT that they included, and but I was at 4208-bit 4K 30 with the EM1 Mark III, and that just wasn't cutting it for me. So that's why I got the S5. And when I went to the S5, I was getting 4K 30 42210-bit. And the problem with the S5 is it's a full frame camera, so I'm not able to get that same depth of field. So I had to shoot at like f8, which, you know, I'm not a big fan of, because that cranks the ISO up on the video, and that ultimately was still a cleaner image than I was getting with the M1 Mark III. Particularly in the shadow areas, it was much cleaner. But the 422 space was good, but I was not happy with 4K 30. It'll do 4K 60, but then it crops in, and I can't deal with that with the work that I do, right? Without buying a super wide angle lens, and then you got to deal with distortion. I mean, there's so many issues, right? But I was getting by with the S5, and I could have used the S5 on this job, but I want to get the gear down. I want to minimize the gear, right? That's why I'm in Micro Four Thirds. Is I want to minimize the how much I have to carry with me onto a job site. And I tell you, the all-in-one seems, I've only done it for 3 or 4 well, including these 2, maybe 4 video jobs. The other 2, no problems at all. The lighting was, uh, consistent, meaning it was mostly daylight, and I wasn't seeing these kind of problems, but this job, I'm running into a problem with the editing side. So I don't know. Hopefully the client's not watching and seeing all these issues, because then they're going to point it out to me, right? They do watch my stream sometimes. It's kind of funny. I don't know why. They're not photographers, but I guess they like me. Terry Noon. My goodness, good to see you. And let me scroll down. Less profanity next time. Did I use any profanity? I don't remember. I know it'll slip once in a blue moon, but I'm not just dropping, the F-bomb and everything left and right. I never use the F-bomb. Not online, anyway. Okay. I'm just going through the text. Or the chat, I'm sorry. Oh, Roberto's here. Good to see you. And Joey Tide. Can someone... oh, dang it. It just jumped. No, I think the LUTs will work on... I don't have anything else to use to edit. I would assume the LUTs work fine for Adobe Premiere. But I don't know. They're not... I didn't download a LUT for DaVinci Resolve. I just downloaded the LUT. And then... and then it works. So I assume the LUT is more of a generic file that can be used with any photo editing software that takes LUTs. Oh, Caging Ridge. See, now we're getting back to now we're getting back to like some hardcore video. I tried that before. I don't know. Does this oh, I got to show you some other things I got this week. Hold on. Yeah, this has a battery. I don't know. You guys have probably seen this before, but let me up the exposure a bit. But there's my cage. I use it on my live streaming kit now because otherwise it would just collect dust. But I have the matte box. I have the little the dual rods, so you can attach other things and swing away things. It's not a high end rigging kit, but it got the job done when I was really trying to get into that stuff. But like I said, I'm trying to minimize the amount, because the gear I have to take with me already when I'm doing video is already pretty daunting, because I have my dolly, my dolly for my tripod, and then I got these other small dollies. No, it's not a dolly, but it's kind of a dolly. I got these smaller dollies for my monopod, and then of course the video tripod itself is separate from the photo tripod, because I got that gliding. It's not a ball head, but it's a video head, so it's a lot smoother for panning and things. Man, I have to throw in a cage and a matte box and an external recorder and batteries out the yin yang and oh my god, they don't pay me enough to do all that. If these were high paying video jobs, absolutely, right? I would bring I'd bring one of those giant, Pelican boxes or whatever on a roller with me, right? Maybe have a crew and my own lighting, bring my own freaking lighting. But you know, these jobs are not these are not high paying jobs. So um, I'm not doing it anyway. Ah, but yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I would love to get a cage. I guess Small Rig has a cage now for the OM1. I might get that. You know, Ben over at the Narrowband channel did a review. A cage would be nice, because then I could attach an external monitor. Because God knows, man, if I forget to bring my glasses, it's really hard to see if I got things in focus here. Fortunately, whew, man, I missed focus on a couple shots, but they weren't, on video. I missed because I manually focus when I do video, and I just use the hyperfocal distance, right? So I don't use autofocus in the video. And there was one clip. There was one clip. It was only about 2 minutes long. That was just blurry, and I was like, oh. Well, thank God, I take more footage than I need. You always do more than you need because it only takes a few more minutes to add a few minutes, right? A video. But I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe I didn't get enough coffee or something. I can't finish a sentence. And oh, hey, Rick, how are you? Says, if I was working with this client, I'd be inclined to suggest he installs all daylight bulbs, as older bulbs won't show his products with true colors. Yeah. Um, that, that, like I said, if they were paying more, I could probably do that. But the problem I have with a lot of sites, believe it or not, is getting them to install light bulbs that are working at all. I would say 90% of the jobs, video jobs, and photo jobs for that matter, 90% of jobs I go on to, there are light bulbs burnt out all the time. And I tell them, my client, who's the agent, the broker, tells their client, please make sure all light bulbs are functioning, right? Are working. At the very least, they should all be working. But 90% of the time when I get to the property, there's a good 10 to 20% of the light bulbs and lighting don't work. They're burnt out. So I would just be content with them to have the frickin' light bulbs working um, to begin with, because nothing looks worse than you walk into a room and every 2 or 3 bulbs are out and not working. Even this property I just went to, there were several bulbs out, just totally not working at all. Like this one room had a double, I don't know, a stepping ceiling where each row had lights, and so there was probably, I don't know, 20 lights, individual lights in there, and half of them were burnt out randomly. It's like so when I did the video, I made sure I didn't get those lights in the shot because it just looked like crap. So yeah. um and then half the time when I get there, the client's client, right? My client's client doesn't even know we're doing video to begin with. It's kind of a weird thing. I'll get there and they're like, "Oh, can you do video?" So I always bring my video gear because I never know when they're going to say, "Let's do video too." I always ask before I go, And 9 times out of 10, they'll tell me, yeah, let's do video or let's not do video. But then when I get there, sometimes they're like, oh, yeah, do some video too. And there were times, man, when I just used my, I didn't even use the EM1 or the whatever I had because I didn't have, there are times when I've had to do the photo job without a gimbal, in other words. And that's a problem when you just have your tripod and you're trying to do video work. You can't, I didn't have my dolly, I didn't have my gimbal. So, but anyhow, that's rare. That's rare that I go that unprepared for those random acts of video. But yeah, the light bulb situation and getting them to change it to just daylight bulbs, that ain't happening. Because it's rare that the property I go to is occupied at all. Usually they're vacant and gutted, and the lighting is what it is, right? Because most properties, commercial properties that I do, they're just going to be gutted and refitted to the new owner, right, or the new tenant, regardless. They rarely use the office space as is. In fact, I would say, yeah, again, we're in the 90% range where when somebody buys a commercial property here, it's completely gutted and refitted with the new tenant's requirements. So they don't even care really what the current layout is. All they care about is, how much space do I have? What's the, and location, right? Location is always number one. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. It's awesome working with film. I don't know, it's maybe just nostalgia, right? That we like to look at film and take pictures using film. But it feels very warm and very real, very natural when you're looking at film versus a technically correct digital image, right? Yeah, shoot at night. Oh, that's the other thing is I don't have the option on the timing usually because I'd have to go there twice. I'd have to go there in the daytime to get the outside shots and then go back at night to do the video work. Uh, and I don't have enough lighting to do that because these spaces are the typical space is 3 to 6,000 square feet. I don't have the lighting to do that. I would need to spend thousands of dollars in lighting, and yeah, like I said, I just don't get paid enough to do all that. Everything is always about the money, right? How much can you do? Um, yeah, Darko's giving an example, right? Speaking of lighting, doing the concert I shot Friday was super challenge. Red, green, blue, purple, white, and various combinations, but I love the challenge. My XT3 worked like a champ. Yeah, it's crazy. Dealing with lighting is a problem for video work, right? Unless, like Rick is saying, you can control the lighting, bring your own lighting. And shooting at night, I think shooting in the daytime is better because uh, you want to see the windows. I mean, if the interior space was just interior without windows, that would make sense. And it wouldn't be possible to do exterior lighting through the windows because a lot of times these things are many levels high, right? That's an interesting idea. I have to give that some thought though, long term. If I get some higher paying jobs, I'll have to give that some thought. Um, the Great Vancini, good to see you. Oh, Walter is here. Hey, Walter, how you doing? And let's see. Adam Favre, how you or would you show us about color grading, or do you have a resource for us rookies? Oh, any kind of color grading. I've been watching the DaVinci Resolve color grading tutorials by DaVinci Resolve. Those are really good. There are other creators out there that have color grading tutorials, and I use those to supplement what I learned from the DaVinci Resolve color grading tutorials. But they're I don't connect with those as well. They're just supplements, and because I'm trying to find new ideas. I'm always looking to expand, my knowledge base. But ultimately, I found the DaVinci Resolve tutorials, and they're on YouTube, are pretty good. They work for me, and but when you need very camera specific grading tutorials, that's something I'm going to have to make for the OM1 because it's a little bit different. Every camera is a little different how you color grade them very specifically. um, I can't color grade like the OM1 and the S5 the same way. It has to do with the input color working space that the camera records. What it records, the color space it records in, the LUT that's are available, if they're any good, right? And then what your deliverable is, which for me is just Rec 709. So there's a whole chain of things, right, in video work that you don't have to think about in photography so much. Um, because you're working with compressed files in video. If you're using very high-end cameras, that's weird. If you're working with very high-end cameras that'll shoot 12-bit RAW, 14, 16-bit RAW, then your workflow is a little bit simpler in terms of colors, right? Because you can just adjust those. But those are, $70,000 cameras, right? Save for maybe the Sigma FP. Sigma FP is actually a pretty decent cinema camera because it shoots 12-bit cinema DNG, which is different, which is really basically a 12-bit raw image, right? And you can color grade those pretty easily, but and it has a very high bit rate. But it's crossed my mind though because it uses the L mount, so I could switch back to my Panasonic S5 or a Sigma FP and use the same lenses, and that could be my whole setup for all of my work, right? But I'd really like to just, I really like the compactness of just this one camera and one lens that I use for video and photo. And I need to develop my workflow for my color workflow for this camera. Once I do that, I'll try and share it. I don't know, but I'm not really qualified to share color management and all of that with DaVinci Resolve. It'd be very, very specific. It'd be like I'd have to make the assumption that you already know how to use DaVinci Resolve, and all I'm doing is showing you where and what to do specifically for the OM1. So once I get that down, it's going to take a few more photo or video jobs for me to kind of get that down because I don't have enough experience in all the different lighting situations. Like I'm like this one is driving me nuts. this lighting situation I'm dealing with now. Why was that lighting challenging? It is part of the show, right? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the question is. Other than what I already said is, you have light. Light has different color, right? Daylight is a different color than tungsten color, like indoor lighting, versus LED versus fluorescent. And then the quality of that light, versus flash. The quality of the light coming, sunlight is the best quality because it's just blasting every spectrum at once, so everything looks perfect. When you get to lower quality lighting, like a very cheap LED bulb, it transmits that color, right? But then it's not transmitting a full spectrum. So the light that reflects back and hits the sensor is missing information about the color, right? So that's why you get weird colors with very poor quality lightings. And that's why lighting, when you buy lighting, it has these CRI indexes. There's another index now that they're using. But they have these indexes to tell you the quality of light at that particular color temperature that it's able to reproduce or able to create, so that when you're recording, you get better colors in your image. And getting a very high CRI lighting is, it gets expensive. Like in this room here, this lighting I'm using in here is very cheap LED lighting, but I didn't buy the cheapest LED light bulbs, right? These are just standard light bulbs you buy for your lamps and things, not for like videography. But I bought these high definition lights that claim like a 90% CRI, which is really high. Even if it's 80% CRI, that's good enough for live streaming, right? And doing what I do here. But for video work, you really want to be at 95% CRI or better. Video or photography, for that matter, because you'll just get better, richer colors. Darko says, Rob Truck, will you do any photo review live stream? And what file format would you want to get? Well, the file format wouldn't matter. I could do some photo review streams, I guess. I mean, if anybody cares about my opinion of what I think of your picture, I can give it a shot. I don't know, but photography is so subjective that whatever I say shouldn't have any impact on what you think about your own image, right? If you love your image, if you like your own images, then what does it matter what anybody else says about it? And that's why I've never really done any photo critique type streams, right? Because it's very subjective. Now, if you want some technical advice, like if there's a very specific subject or type of photography, like if you want me to critique architectural photography, I could do that, right? Because that's my skill set. That's what I do for a living, and I'm better than most of my competition. Not all. There's certainly much better architectural photographers out there in the same space that with the same clients that we work with, same type of client, but better than most, because I'll look at the photos a lot of times before I go on a photo job. I'll look at the photos the previous photographer did on that property just to get a feel for the space, right? And what kind of shots. 9 times out of 10 they suck. I mean, I could tell they were paid to do the job because they're better than like the agent would do with iPhone, right? They're better than like just stupid iPhone shots around the property, but not by much. And like the property I just did, one I did was a bed and breakfast or something. Not the bed and breakfast. I forget the name of it, but anyway, um, the owner was telling me, oh, I had these shots done professionally of the deck, uh, with the fireplace and everything going. And I said, okay, yeah, why don't you send those to me? Maybe I can edit those a little and use them for part of the new listing. And I saw them and I was like, oh, I can't use these. These are and sometimes you have to use images from the previous photographer, right? Um, with their permission. You have to get their permission first, which hasn't been a problem in the past, but uh, because I've only had to do it once before, and the photographer that took the pictures was the owner of the property, so I didn't have to pay him anything. But technically, if you're going to use images from the previous photographer site, you have to pay them and license that photography to use in the new listing. I haven't had to worry about that. But I looked at the images that this other professional photographer took, and they were okay. It's like they were a lot like the images that I took when I was starting out. They didn't do anything with the lighting, the color, the composition was there. Compositionally, they had that almost correct, but they were still getting converging lines and things. But yeah, for me to photo critique, if I photo critique very specific things, I can do that, assuming there's a question, because the question might be, what do you think I could have done better with this? What do you think of that? Then I might be able to offer some suggestions and critique. But doing photo reviews in general, like I know Peter's done some of those. Peter Forsgaard, he used to do those. You send these images to him, and he would have a certain theme, maybe black and white or whatever the theme is, right? And he was pretty good at it. He was able to articulate what's good about the composition and what he liked about it, what was unique. I could do that maybe, but I'm not really. I don't feel like I'm really qualified, to do that kind of critique. Just open critique of someone's picture, uh, because again, it's so subjective, and it's not. I'm not there yet to do that kind of critique, to be honest. Okay, good. Good, Marcia. So it is the codec in your system, basically. So Fast Raw Viewer, I bet if you get the codec for your operating system, Fast Raw Viewer can use that codec to open and close images or delete them. Yeah, let me get an Ari Alexa camera or the Sony uh Vec. I can't remember. I don't shop those cameras. So I can't remember the names of them. And then, since you're up near DC, do politics ever influence the photography you do? I've met a guy in food service who said everything revolves around politics. No, it doesn't come up. I'm just shooting vacant properties most of the time. I can't think of anything. I mean, DC is the District of Columbia, is where the president, the White House, Congress, the Senate, all the branches of government, the IRS. Oh God. Anyway, everybody's here, right? And then we have a lot of embassies, right, from different countries, and so it's very, very diverse politically. And uh, yeah, it's but for photography and stuff that I do, it doesn't come up at all. I can't think of. I'm trying to think if there's any. I can't think of any reason it would even. Not for the photo video work that I do. Can't think of any reason. And Chan has a question. Let's see. You owned, that seems past tense, but maybe you currently own the EM1 Mark III, need a secondary, get the EM5 Mark III or the OM1, street and portrait, hobby, not pro. EM5 Mark III almost double the price in my country, no cash for OM1 yet, still saving. Man, I would wait. I would wait because you're not shooting professionally, right? So you can wait, right? There's what's the rush? If you were shooting professionally, I would say get the OM1, don't wait, just get it. But that's a different scenario financially, right? At least here. I would just wait and get the OM1 because the EM5 Mark III is a terrific camera. But you're going to find yourself using the EM1 Mark III all the time versus the EM5 Mark III, primarily because of the battery life. And just the handling it's much more comfortable to handle the EM1 Mark III. As a secondary camera, it depends what the intent is for the secondary camera. Normally, you're thinking about professionally. If your camera A fails, then you have camera B to do that. Or you want to get kind of fancy with your photography, you can have camera A and camera B with you taking different kinds of shots with different lenses at the same time. So it speeds up your time in the field. Again, even as an enthusiast, that might be worth it, right? If you're just doing it for yourself and you enjoy it. But don't overpay for an EM5 Mark III. It's better to pay full price for an OM1 and get every penny's worth than pay too much for an EM5 Mark III. And because you're not shooting professionally, I'd say just wait. That's my opinion. Because the OM1 is certainly superior to the EM1 Mark III in so many ways. I think there's some argument about the autofocus between the for normal autofocus, right? We're just taking pictures of different things, not sports action. There's some argument right now going on about the autofocus with the OM1 versus the EM1 that I have not been able to independently verify because I'm not experiencing any issues with the autofocus with the OM1. And I've done at least 4 photo shoots with this professionally, and I'd say it's actually a little more reliable at this point for the kind of work that I've been doing. Now, the issue comes when people are talking about face and eye detect, they're talking about low light focusing. People are saying that the OM1 is not as good as the M1 Mark III. So I'm wondering, but I haven't experienced that problem. I know for the subject detect, birds in flight, and all of the other fancy autofocusing it does has been pretty awesome. Definitely way ahead of the M1 Mark III. But for these other situations that I've been reading in the forums, I haven't been able to duplicate it personally. I'm not saying it's not true. I just haven't been able to duplicate that issue. Outside of the one time I did the video autofocusing test with face detect, the OM1 was definitely struggling that day, but then the next day was perfectly fine. So once I get a little more field time with it, maybe I'll see or identify the same problem, but at this point I have not. Oh, okay. Yeah, don't worry. You'll be fine. Now that OM Workspace is working. Big Bend National Park. Oh, I don't know what that. I have to look that up. And then Darko says, actually, I agree with Rob. You need to ask a question about the image you're asking him to talk about. I just love the honesty, something the world needs more people like Mr. Oh, thanks. Um, yeah, the photo editing streams. I trust me, in the back of my head, I'm always wanting to, said this week I'll do a photo editing stream, but then I don't know. I promise I'll start doing those again. I just haven't. There's no reason I stopped. And then Rick says, thinking outside the box, it'd be kind of fun to do a nighttime light painting video inside a sock shop. I'm thinking a bit like Pink Panther films. I get that is interesting. I mean, I'm gonna deliver this video to the client. I'm gonna have to spend some more time on it. I mean, it should be a 2-hour editing job, if that. But it's, man, it's taken me, like I said, basically a couple of days. I probably got 10 to 12 hours put into those freaking edits now. And it's not really anyone's fault but mine. It's just I just have not run into this lighting situation before with the OM1. But once I figure out how to color manage this properly and adjust the colors, it'll be a cakewalk, because the I had 2 video jobs, right? The one with the sock shop, this is where I'm struggling and spending all my time. The other one, which was the bed and breakfast, whatever it was a residential basically. That one I didn't really have any problems. I had a little problem in one room, but I didn't really have any problems overall. I was able to edit that and crank that out in about an hour, and uh, that was no problem. Like I said, I had one and a half rooms. I'd say I had really only one room. The other lighting challenges I had are kind of normal with every job, so I handled those pretty quickly. But the one room had very strong sunlight coming in, and then that terrible LED lighting indoors. So where the window lighting met and the LED lighting met, I was getting this weird, and with furniture and all that, furniture is a problem, because they cast shadows and things in the wrong place. Unlike for photography, you can control shadows and lighting with a flash. But when you're dealing with video, you don't have that kind of control. So this one room gave me a little bit of a problem, but I worked through it, because I just cut and transitioned where the problem was. So I had one clip where I was kind of panning in this room. So what I did is I cut in maybe 2 places that pan, and then did some shifting and color balancing and stuff, and then transition. It's video editing, but I was able to make it work, so that it wasn't noticeable that there was a big problem. It's not perfect, garbage in, garbage out, right? You can only do so much with a bad clip, but I was able to make it, seamless, right? The transition, I think. And let me see. Nikon, yeah, 12-bit RAW. I know, it's crazy how big the files are. I've been trying to edit. I got a copy of, Walter sent me a couple of clips in NRAW, and I did a few. I did work on those just for practice, for editing in general and color grading. Um, but I'm not totally happy with it. Let me see. I think I have it here. Yeah, this is. I don't know if you're still here, Walter, but I was working on it a little bit. Uh, this is one. I had the other one with the little bluebells. That came out better than this one. This one, I was having a little trouble actually with the panning motion. Um, but anyway, yeah, I was messing around with that file. Okay, but I think those were the 12-bit raw NRAWs or whatever. Hold on. Okay. Um, let me continue here. Says here, I am unable to export out of OM Workspace with a monochrome edit. Any suggestions? It shows up monochrome in the app, but the exported JPEG is in color. Ooh. What would that be? I haven't used Workspace really much lately. Let me just take a quick look. I'm just gonna convert something to black and white and see. Uh, so let me just grab any image. I'll take one from my recent photo job here. What, 2022? Oh, it's second quarter. Where's the second quarter? Oh, it's in here. How come nothing's showing? Do I got a filter on? No, I don't have any filters. How about in my fireworks folder? I think the hard drive just has to spin up first. That's probably what's holding it back. We'll give that a minute. I'll come back to it though. It's probably the hard drive needs to spin up, but I'll come back to your question there. And I just got the OM1. So this is part of it. It's your OM1 images. So okay, now the hard drive spun up. Hold on. So here is Daisy May. This is a raw image. So let's just convert it to black and white. Hello, there we go. And we'll export this as a JPEG, super fine, nothing else. And let's export this to Instagram. And then I'll go to my Instagram folder. It's coming. It'll show up here once it's done exporting. Yeah, I'm sorry about the spammers, guys. From the app I'm using, I can't delete them, but even if I do, they come right back with a different username. That's the problem. All right, did this finish exporting yet? It says export complete. Oh, here it is. So, yeah, Swasam, or Rob, sorry. Rob, I don't have any issues. That is, let me just check. I mean, if I export, I'm sorry, Rob, I don't see anything that would be causing that. Um, I don't have a solution for you. Make sure you're using the latest version of OM Workspace. Maybe it's a codec problem again. That's all I can think of. But if they're opening up in OM, you should be okay in Workspace. But I'll just show you what version I'm on. If this makes any difference. I'm on version 2.02 of Workspace. So if you're on a different version, maybe that's the problem. If you're on the same version as I am, I don't think you should be having any problems because I haven't loaded any separate codecs onto my operating system and I'm using Windows. Okay. Oh, wow. Tough questions today. Oh, you're welcome, Rob. I try. And Lauren is in the house. Oh my gosh. Um, back to shooting raw, huh? Yeah, I've been shooting mostly raw lately. I may go back to JPEG though, but I've been shooting mostly raw lately, just to get those, just so I can do a lot of editing. I've been over processing my images lately. I need to go back to just shooting JPEG. Yeah, I'm sorry, Rob. I don't have a solution. Okay. Lewis Martin says, I've just joined in and have an unrelated question. Can you tell me the pixel resolution of the square format of the PenF? Yeah. That's easy to do. Finding my pen F is a different situation. It should be right there, and it's not. Oh, duh. Normally I have it in my dry box, but in fact, I can do better than just show you. I can show you how to find out. What's the saying? Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat again tomorrow. Whatever that saying is. All right, come on. I hate these mini HDMI ports. Go in there. That should fit. Oh, it's because it's not the mini HDMI port. I'm trying to jam the HDMI plug into the USB port. All right, so all you have to do, this is the pen F. Go into the super control panel, or if you go into the menu, let me see. I need a screen. Actually, is it here? Yeah, it's right here. So aspect ratio, right? So you just change this to, what did you say, square, 1:1. So if you do a raw image, it's now 5184 by 3888. No, the raw image isn't cropped. So you see where it says large? That's what it's going to be, 3888 by 3888. So that is the 1:1 crop. Don't look at the raw. The raw is never cropped. It's cropped virtually in camera, but when you load it into to Workspace or Lightroom, you can uncrop it if you want to. But if you use a JPEG image, a large, then it's going to be cropped permanently to 3888 by 3888. So yeah, just go into shooting menu 1, go down the image aspect, and then change this. And then you want to look at the second line there where it says large, and that'll tell you what the resolution is. Okay. Hope that makes sense. All right, so I'm 1 for 3 now. I answered one question out of 3. Teach a man to fish and I'll eat the bait instead. Did you have your hands on the 8-25 f4? I sold my 12-40 and bought the 8-25. Very happy, just a tad bigger, hardly any difference. I tried the 8-25 and I really liked it. Rob over at in our photo club had one. Let me borrow it for a few shots. Well, he let me borrow it as long as I want, but I only got a few shots out of it. And yeah, it's a great lens. It's still $1,000+ though. That's the problem. I have this Panasonic 7-14, which I'm getting by with, but I'm definitely compromised when I'm using this lens with the flaring. It's still showing up in my video work and photo work, but I can't bring myself. I'm waiting for a used one to come up, or that I can trade this one in and get it. So if I can save $300, say, buying used, and then get $300 for this lens, I might be able to get away with paying about $500 for the lens. At that point, it would make sense for me to do that. But I can't just buy one outright for $1,000 or $1,100, whatever it is. It's just a little bit out of my price range for something that I already have kind of covered with this. I'm actually thinking about getting the Laowa 7.5 millimeter because the only reason I really need wide angle is for my work, my job, right, for video and for photo. I need a 7 or 8 millimeter focal length. 9 is a little bit. I thought about the 918, but it's a little bit tight because I can get those used for about 300-400, but it's a little bit tight, particularly for video work. For photo work, I could probably get away with 9, but video work, 9 is not going to cut it. So 7 is good. 7.5 would work. I'd rather have 7. 8 would work. But yeah, it looks like a great lens, and I think if I can get it to where I'm out of pocket for 500, then I think I can get it. Because it would totally replace this crappy lens, right? I mean, I'm being a little harsh when I say crappy, but it is a problem for me time to time. I have the 8 millimeter fisheye, which I meant to bring with me for this one particular job because I knew it was going to be a tight space. It's 3,000 square feet, but it's only 16 feet wide, so it's like, you know, it's a lot of small compartmental areas, right? If you only have 16 feet wide, but then 3,000 square feet on 4 floors, it just it was 4 floors, 3,000 square feet, only 16 feet wide. Typical Alexandria property, right? A fisheye would have been better, and then I could have defished it. That would have been a better choice than this lens, except for the video work. For the video work, I'd have to test it because I can defish it in video too, but I'm not sure how that would look exactly. I have to test it. But anyway, yeah, I like the 8-25 a lot, but I need to be at a $500 all-in type situation to get it. Oh, you're welcome, Lou. I love my Pen F. So anytime I get a chance to whip that thing out, I will. That's what she said, right? 50 people here. That's good. The fact that I can that I have anybody here at all is very flattering to me. And Adam says, I have gotten away from using raw editing. I shoot raw plus JPEG, call a photo mechanic, which pairs the raw. Okay. I use JPEG unless I don't like the results and edit raw as needed. Yeah. I know I should go back to JPEG shooting. Just for a little bit, right? For my personal stuff. My pro work, I have to shoot in RAW because I blend images and do a lot of editing. But nothing wrong with shooting JPEG. For all us gas addicts, it's too bad that we could not just wash dishes in the back of the photography store to get our gear for cheap. I know, right? What I'm hoping is maybe one day, I don't know when it's going to happen. I haven't gotten any requests to do lens reviews or product. I have one product review I need to do. I'm going to do that next week it's a dash cam, right? I have to do that one next week. And I got a microphone request, which I like the microphone, but they wanted me to buy it first. And I was like, I'm not buying it, then reviewing it, and then expect, you know what I mean? It's like, there's different ways to do things, but usually the companies will just send you the product and then ask you to do a review, right? So it's a video in exchange for a review. I haven't gotten any in a long time. And I'm looking at other channels, right? Not necessarily our happy Micro Four Thirds community, but other channels, and people are still getting lenses and cameras and all kinds of stuff to review. Like TT Artisans, they still have a few lenses I want to review for them. So does 7 Artisans. And I guess they didn't like the reviews I've done for them in the past. I don't know. I thought they were okay. um, I didn't really say anything bad about their lenses. For the money, there's nothing to complain about. They're well built. They're sharp enough, and they're cheap. You know, for anything equivalent. Uh, it's definitely, I think, the TT Artisans, the 7 Artisans lenses are definitely a much better option than buying, say, a used vintage lens where, you know, you have potential for their age, right? With vintage lenses. I mean, you can get a lot of great vintage lenses for cheap, and I don't want to discourage anyone from doing that. But if you're at all hesitant about buying used gear, I don't have any problem. But if you're at all hesitant buying used gear, the 7 Artisans and TT Artisans, you know, they cost more, but they're a great alternative to buying used vintage lenses. So I'd be very happy to review their lenses for them, but I haven't gotten anything. I guess I could email them, say, hey, what's up, guys? You know, you got this new lens out. I think there's another 50.95 lens out that I'd like to try. But anyhow, oh, a 35 RC, very nice. That reminds me, what's his name over there at E6 Vlogs has been cranking out some videos he's always a lot of fun to watch. E6 Vlogs, and he used the R35C, I think, in that. So I'm waiting to see your video on it, Robert. Roberto has a channel here too, for those of you that don't know him. Okay, and you're too kind, Darko. You're getting away from shooting. Well, if you're going to shoot JPEG, man, the Pen F is probably the best camera ever to shoot JPEGs with. I can't think of any other camera that has the kind of controls that you can have in camera for shooting JPEG. I mean, yeah, you can take photos and do it editing, but if you want to do JPEGs in camera and mess with colors and tones and all different kinds of filters, I can't think of a better camera. I mean, I shop them once in a while to get another one because I'd like to get one in mint condition just to have for later, because this one's going to fail eventually, as all electronics do. They eventually fail, or I'm going to drop it and break it. But anyhow, yeah, Lewis, get the Pen F. I should do some tutorials on the Pen F. I just haven't really used it much lately. And yeah, the GX9, this has got to be the deal of the century. A GX9 with the 12 to 60. That is a deal of the century. I mean, you get a really decent kit lens. I mean, better than decent, a really good kit lens, along with a good Micro Four Thirds camera, very compact but high quality, IBIS, great video. I mean, you're giving me gas, Lauren, like you wouldn't believe. For $800, I would definitely consider it. I mean, that's hard to turn down. And I could use that 12 to 60 for everything too, for my general photography. It's a good range for just photo walking, right? I'm gonna have to shop that today. I've been shopping monitors though. Man, but I gotta pay down some stuff too. Anyway, move some money around. Call my Swiss bank accounts and move some money around. And Darko says, use gear for most is daunting, but if you know what you're looking for, like fungus and dry grease and yeah, all this stuff, right? Just try the lens before you buy. Yeah, if you can go to a local camera store and try a lens before you buy it, that's the best way. But a lot of us, we only have access online, right? We don't have camera stores near us, so we have to buy something online. And at that point, you have to rely on a reputable seller, right? So I know used Photo Pro is really good here in the US. MBP people seem to like. I've never used them, but I've used Photo Pro. And of course, my local camera store, District Camera, are all pretty reliable for good quality used gear. With respect to, they grade it, right? They say this is an excellent condition, very good condition, etc. You can trust that rating. And then when you buy it, and then they have a good return policy, right? If there's any problem, you just give it back. But buying things off eBay, yeah, you have to be a little bit more meticulous, right? Again, you have to deal with reputable sellers, and then you have to really understand what you're getting, because a lot of times you don't see these defects in the images, like specifically dry grease and rough spots in the focus ring, sticky apertures. You can't see those in the photos. You might see grease on the aperture blades, which may or may not be an issue, right? Depending if you're adapting it to a mirrorless camera, it doesn't matter if there's grease on the aperture blades. But if you're going to be putting it onto a film camera, that's a problem, right? Because what the grease does, if it's on the blades themselves, it can have the blades, stick or not open and close as fast as they should. Then you get the exposure is wrong on the image. But yeah, all these things. So that's why I think that's what I was talking about. If rather than adapting lenses, because then you need an adapter too. You can buy a native mount TT Artisans or 7 Artisans lens with pretty much the same, if not better quality as the vintage lenses. And the Gray Vanzini, not big on MPB. Okay, that's the name of it. Yeah, I've never used them, so I can't really speak to. Oh, the sale is off. All right. Well, we'll wait for the next one then. Thank God. For $800, I would definitely max out a different credit card for $800. Yeah, the batteries are a problem with vintage cameras. My buddy David Tellett, he recommends these. These are hearing aid batteries. These are 675 1.4 volt. So it's close. It's close. This is a 675 1.4 volt hearing aid batteries. I think this will work in the 35 RC. I think. Don't quote me on that though. Oh, something about a charger with the Great Vanzini. I see. Yeah, when I was with Used Photo Pro. Oops, I'm sorry. I was trying to pull up this one. The charger they sent the charger, but the charger wasn't working. So I called them and they just sent me another charger. They didn't have a factory original charger, but they sent me a generic one, which I was fine with. Oh, that reminds me. Okay, let's end the stream on this. I got the OM1 battery charger, a generic one. This is a K-Star. Took about a week to come in, but let me get some light on it. This is a dual OM1 BLX charger, and it takes about 4 hours to charge a freaking battery from empty, right? Or from low when you have to recharge it. But I don't think it matters. I haven't tried two at the same time, but I did measure. I have one of these, what the hell? I have one of these things. Well, how am I going to show you guys this? That's the output. That's the input. Anyway, I got one of these devices that measure the voltage and milliamps, watts, all the different ways you can say the same thing, right? In electricity. But yeah, it works pretty well. What I noticed though, and this is the same thing that happened to me with the, when I use, you guys know I use the rubber band to charge my OM1 batteries and my old BLH charger, which was a generic charger. These generic chargers take it up to about 99%. I haven't seen one take it up, in both cases I noticed that it charges up to 99% when I put these batteries back in the camera and not 100%. So it's just a hair short. It seems to stop just before it gets to 100%. Versus when I charge the batteries in camera, it takes about an hour and a half, right, to charge in camera, and it always goes to 100%. But yeah, I got this on Amazon for $16, I think is all I paid. Seems to work fine. I've only had it for a day, and I've charged two batteries. One was kind of halfway full, so that only took less than an hour to charge. But this one was virtually empty, and this took about 4 hours to charge. So a lot cheaper than the Olympus one. So it seems to work, but there is that caveat, and the batteries didn't get warm at all. So that tells me it's charging this at about 800 milliamps. So it's a relatively slow charge, right? Because in camera, it's got to be charging close to 2 amps through the camera, which I'm not a big fan of. But in here, it's charging about 800 milliamps. So it's going to take 3 to 4 hours to fully charge a battery, at least 3, but probably 4. Because it took me about 4 hours. I wasn't paying exact attention to the time it took to charge this because I didn't set up my meter reader here exactly right. So I just had to try to remember when I started and when I stopped. But it was about 4 hours. All right. Yeah, the protection circuit, right? Yeah, so basically what the protection circuit does is it reads the resistance in the battery when it's charging, and when it gets close to whatever that threshold is, it stops charging, and that's why it only goes to 99%. Because you'll notice that this has 4 pins on it, but there's only 2 pins here, so it has to measure the resistance of the charging. It measures the resistance of the voltage or something while it's charging, and when the battery's near full capacity, that resistance is higher, so that's when it stops charging, when it reaches a certain point. When you have all 4 pins active, like if you look at the original Olympus charger, it has all 4 pins, and these 4 pins read the temperature of the battery, and then another pin, I believe, is a data pin. I guess it gives some other data about the battery when it's charging. I'm not sure, but I know 2 pins is positive and negative, and the third pin is for temperature reading, and then the fourth pin is a data pin of some kind, because there's little microchips inside these batteries, right? And all of these communicate with the original Olympus charger to give you that 100% charge, or 100% charge was inside the camera. And that temperature thing is very important. particularly when you're using it in camera, because if the batteries get too hot, they're going to swell and get stuck in your camera or potentially explode, because lithium ion, you've seen people with exploding lithium ion batteries. So that's why these chargers, they have to charge at a slower rate, because if they try to charge them too fast, because it doesn't have a temperature sensor in them, it could potentially explode the battery. So that's why they charge them. That's why it takes 4 hours to charge, because they don't want to charge them too fast without a true temperature reading off the battery. And that's why people never, that's why no one will ever tell you to buy one of these. I'm just telling you, I bought one and I got it on Amazon. But I'm not telling you to buy one. I'm telling you that I bought one. So just to be clear, right? But that's the problem with these generic chargers, is they use a different method to determine when the battery is full by measuring the resistance voltage. Like if this is an 8 point or 7 point something battery, 7.2 volt, and so this charger can read the voltage off the battery, and when it reaches 7.2 volts or very close to, it stops charging, right? But anyhow, I like it. They have listening devices that steal our stuff, huh? Okay. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to end it here. I'm getting hungry. I need to eat some lunch, but I appreciate you guys coming in today. It's good to see you, Walter, if you're still here, and everyone else as usual. It's always great to see everybody. So I'll be back at least by next Sunday. But I'll try and work in one of the photo editing streams like I used to do. I keep promising that. I've been promising that all year, but I'll try, because you guys keep asking me. But thanks again. I'll catch you guys in the next one.